Greetings, humans, and happy Super Bowl Eve. My name is Josh Smokey Hell Nelson, and this is The Smoke Show. On today's episode, we have our check-in with the people of SportsMe, now Stacks, but more on that later. Some thoughts on the upcoming Bengals-Rams Super Bowl, and more. However, before we get into the usual podcast niceties, I would like to share some thoughts on a theme that has been gnawing at me due to recent events. 20 plus years ago in high school, I wrote an essay entitled Fuck Censorship, which was my cheeky way of voicing my opinion on the subject before you even read the first sentence. I got a 0, by the way, on that essay and had to rewrite it. My sense of humor was clearly not appreciated in its time. While my position remains largely the same, since then I have learned an appreciation for subtlety and tact. The recent event that inspired this theme is the ongoing controversy around the Joe Rogan Experience podcast and its exclusive host, Spotify. Now, the ball got rolling when Neil Young demanded that his music be removed from Spotify in protest of the medical misinformation being dangerously hosted and boosted by Rogan's reach. Since then, a handful of high-profile names have removed their catalog from Spotify in solidarity with Young's position. Not long after, Spotify removed over 110 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for his prolifically horrible use of racial slurs. What I'm curious about is the process of due diligence, being paid by Spotify's people before shelling out a $100 million exclusive contract like that. The removal of that sizable amount of episodes is not something I consider censorship. It's Spotify's platform. They can host or not host whatever they deem fit. People defending the other side on this should probably take a long, hard look at what they're defending. Now, there is no acceptable context for Joe Rogan to be using words like that. This is something that should be common knowledge to any decent human. It's the same way that any decent human wouldn't be waving around a Nazi flag or marching alongside them without so much as a kick to the ribs. But we'll save that wrath for another time. It's fuck Nazis now and forever. Oh, that clip just gets better and better with it. Oh man, let's roll it one more time. Oh, beautiful. He tried to have that removed from the internet. Fuck you, Richard Spencer. But yes, fuck Nazis. Do I believe people should have freedom of speech? Of course. But that does have limitations. Morals and ethics aside, these companies who platform podcasts and the likes do have terms of service, and as private corporations can pretty much do whatever the fuck they like. You don't like that? Tough shit. You'll have to find other means. Ask Trump how his Twitter is going. These dummy fucks have such hate in their hearts that it just spills out faster than their minds can keep up with. And those not smart enough to play by the rules, I say fuck them. Jon Stewart recently went on record with the approach of not to shun, but instead to engage. Now, me removing my podcast from Spotify would have zero effect on the comings and goings of Joe Rogan. No thanks in part to our varied differences in viewership numbers. So maybe Jon Stewart has a point. Any message that I would attempt to convey would be pretty futile, but I feel it important that my stance be known. I will repeat the words I said earlier. There's no acceptable context for Joe Rogan to be using words like that. This is something that should be common knowledge to any decent human. If your lack of brain cells means that you can't convey your messages without such language that would effectively bolster movements against you, maybe rethink your messages. Known racist shitbag Eric Clapton was one of the original infamous inspirations behind Rock Against Racism, which they could have just called Rock Against Clapton. A movement that draws some parallels to the likes of Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, India Arie, and more. There are some that will die on the hill of protecting absolutely all forms of speech, which is a weird-ass hill to die on, honestly. There are some things that should just not be done. That doesn't mean the boogeyman is coming for your guns, folks. Just have a modicum of fucking decency. That's it. Decency seems to be another recurring theme lately, with the class action lawsuit being brought against the NFL and the Giants and the Dolphins and the Broncos in particular. The 29 other John Doe teams have not been named specifically, so anyone's guess to who they could be. This lawsuit is one that I know I'm not just speaking for myself when I say I hope that this can be a catalyst to affect real change. Speaking realistically, there might not be a damn thing that could change without tangible evidence to corroborate claims. The lack of diversity in the NFL ownership group is staggering and remains the ultimate obstacle to true change. Goodell's gone on record saying, "We would love to see a diverse owner of the team," when referencing the upcoming sale of the Denver Broncos. In regards to the alleged ethical improprieties of Stephen Ross and Dan Snyder, the two owners most on the hot seat in the court of public opinion these days, again, unless tangible evidence exists that is actually allowed to see the light of day, I see little being done. I mean, Ross is alleged to have tampered with the integrity of NFL games themselves, while the laundry list of what scumbag Snyder is accused of could wrap every mummy in Egypt. We'd be naive to assume others within the ownership group were not privy to these happenings in some capacity, whether through investigative findings unreleased to the public or otherwise. Now, I'm not here to spout conspiracy theories, though. That's not my game. Instead, I just posed the question. If others within the ownership group were privy to any knowledge of these allegations before they were brought to the public eye, and they didn't use their power to force someone out, you have to wonder where the line exists. What is their definition of too much? If diversity, equity, and inclusion are within the core tenets of the league, why the lack of it in the upper echelons? I just hope through the discovery in these investigations, it brings enough to light to be more than just financial slaps on the wrist to these shitbags. While on the topic, I had to go to SportsMe to ask the people a topical question, only to discover, like I didn't know this was coming, a major rebrand has happened. The app, formerly known as SportsMe, is now Stacks. While we eagerly await the new hotness this rebrand brings, I asked the people what they thought on if Brian Flores would ever get hired as a coach in the NFL again. Let's see what they had to say.
Nope. If Flores does get a job, it'll be through an act of God or something, because I don't see it happening. No, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. They're going to treat him like they did Colin Kaepernick. Ever since he took a stand, he hadn't been back in the league since. Pre-lawsuit, yes, he had a chance to roll. But after that, man, them owners done band together and just blackballed him. So, nope, which is sad.
So I think there's a chance, but it's obviously going to have to be with the right team, and it's probably going to have to be after the whole lawsuit thing ends up going down. But there's a chance. Maybe the Saints do it even before the lawsuit, so we'll just have to see. I think he's definitely a qualified candidate. I think there's a lot of he said, she said in this case, too, especially when it comes to the Dolphins part. But we'll have to see how it all shakes out.
No, there's no way. What's rule number one of the NFL? Protect the shield. Lawsuits, not how you protect the shield. So I don't see it happening. In order for it to happen, I think a team would have to break ranks. An individual owner that actually wants to do something would have to make a conscious decision. Hey, we're going to hire him to send a message, and I just don't think that'll happen. I just don't. I don't see it. And then there's who are the coaches, the GMs, the existing people, anybody from the Belichick tree that because Belichick got outed as part of that. I mean, all those bridges are probably burned. So you'd have to try to find an organization that didn't have any critical people tied to people who would not be okay with that decision. I just don't see it.
All right, so before obviously the lawsuit happened, you would have expected him to be one of the top candidates probably one of the leading candidates to get one of the open jobs for this year. With the lawsuit coming out now, honestly, I think he's going to be made an example of, sadly, because I can't see the owners looking to bring him on board after the lawsuit against them. Like, it's a big call to bring him in for them.
I don't think he gets a head coaching gig, and it's more likely they do blackball him. You know what I mean? He becomes a martyr like Cap. You know what I mean? I know somebody already mentioned that, but I think if he will get another job, it won't be as a HC, but it'll be as a DC for Belichick. I mean, the evil Dark Lord of the Sith loved him as his DC. That's the last time he won a Super Bowl with Flores, you know what I mean, at the DC helm. So I think that's it.
Hey, Smokey Hell, Super Davis. Yeah, it all depends on the lawsuit. If he's getting $100 million in this lawsuit, whatever, how much money he's getting, he might not have to coach again because he's going to get so much money. But if he doesn't get any money in the lawsuit, yeah, he'll get another coaching position. He's actually a really good coach. He was a great defensive mind with the Pats. He actually beat Belichick a bunch of times with the Dolphins. Definitely, I would hire him in definitely in a heartbeat. Flores should get another job, but he might not want it if he's getting millions of dollars in his lawsuit.
No, he ain't getting another job. I admire him taking a stand. But you can't sue a company and expect to be hired. Goodell works for the owners. But you can't put out a statement saying, basically, Lovie Smith got the job over me because of my lawsuit. Basically saying a man who's been to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman as quarterback is not qualified over him. That's a bad look. That's a bad look. So he's not getting another job.
I think if this were 6 years ago, no, he wouldn't stand a chance in hell to get another job. But I think the situation now is too much so that him not getting a job almost proves his lawsuit. So I think if he does get a job, it might be out of a charity or a cover your ass situation, which makes it worse. But if he doesn't, who knows? Maybe The Rock will come calling and make him commissioner of whatever football league he's trying to start here. And makes it good that way and laughs his ass to the bank.
Well, it proves his lawsuit as long as other African-American coaches aren't getting hired. If other African-Americans, there's a lot of young, talented African-American coaches coming up that when they start getting hired, it's not going to prove his point at all. It's basically just saying we didn't like you and we didn't like the job you did. And teams aren't going to hire him because inevitably they're going to have to fire him. And then what? They're going to want to go through all this? Like, it's just not, they're going to be called racist for hiring him. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's not getting another job.
Smokey, it's 0%, and it's unfortunate, but I think he did this on purpose. He sacrificed his own career for the greater good of the league, of the coaches in the league, of the players in the league, shedding light on all the cockroaches so they could scatter and maybe rebuild it in a better image. Hopefully they tear all this shit down, burn it to the ground, let it rebuild better.
Yeah, he's going down as a martyr. You know what I mean? He's going down as a martyr. He's young too. He's only 40 years old. So you got to respect what he's doing, fully aware that he's probably not going to coach again in the NFL. But I will say, like I said earlier, the evil emperor Bill Belichick, Lord of the Sith, could bring him back as a DC, but he'll never, more than likely, ever coach again.
As bad as it is, I gotta agree. I don't think he gets back in the league. But those were some interesting responses and takes from the people. My opinion is, again, one of hope. I hope an owner has the courage to hire Brian Flores. You can't deny, if done with proper intentions, the brilliance of the move PR-wise. Brian Flores was one of the better candidates out there this hiring cycle. The debate centers now around the question of, has his lawsuit prevented him from getting hired? We'll unfortunately not know the answer to that until he is hired. It's a strange, sad situation, but one that doesn't look to be resolved anytime soon. If you're listening on Spotify, please take the half second to leave a 5-star rating, as they are new to Spotify and I want all the stars like Mario 64. Use the other half second from earlier and hit the subscribe button on the way out. I greatly appreciate it. As always, this podcast is proudly presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. For the uninitiated, the Fantasy Points Media Group is home to a collection of the most knowledgeable and profitable minds in the industry. You like money? You like fantasy points? You want to hashtag score more? Then what are you waiting for? From statistical analysis to DFS betting knowledge in multiple sports to the hottest new prospects coming out of the college ranks, the Fantasy Points Media Group has a show that will cover your needs and more. Now, the benevolent parent behind that group is fantasypoints.com, which is having a super early bird promo on membership, which means my code isn't even active until after the Super Bowl tomorrow or today when you're listening to this, maybe yesterday. It might be active now, but they won't tell me what it is yet because this promo is so ridiculous. 25% off when you sign up right now at fantasypoints.com. Fantasypoints.com. Getting you fantasy points and so much more. And before we head out here, I want to make a crazy prediction for the Super Bowl. Now, I've put this out into the universe several times this past couple of weeks. Smokey's Super Bowl MVP. Jamar fucking Chase, baby! With 2 receiving touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. That's right. Use him out of the fucking backfield like Debo, man. Oh, he can do it. Just put the ball in the hands of your best playmakers. Oh, if Jamar Chase gets the MVP, god damn! Ooh, man. It's a good thing I'm wearing stretchy pants right now. I want to hear one more crazy prediction, though. So I'm going to bring my boy Nate on here for one. Let's see what he's got to say.
What is up, Smoke? First and foremost, I'm glad you're feeling better. We definitely missed you while you were gone. My craziest prediction, I seen a pretty interesting prop bet on DraftKings Sportsbook that the Rams DST, or defense for that matter, is at plus 2,800 to score the first touchdown of the game. Obviously, guys like Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase are more highly favored. I'm going to predict that the Rams defense scores more total touchdowns than any single player in the game.
What? You gotta be shitting. What? The Rams defense leading the game in touchdown. This is so fucking crazy. I can't deal with this on my own. I got to call him back up. Coach, did you hear that? That is absolutely I got to hear your take on this.
I heard it, and there's a small chance that it could happen, but like, just say the Rams defense gets 2 touchdowns and then like the rest of them get spread out. That's like the only chance that could happen. But I think if there's a defensive touchdown, it's probably just going to be 1 in this game.
Oh, that'd be crazy. But if they did, that would mean Jamar Chase doesn't get MVP. No, I can't do this. Cut that transmission. No, that's it. We're done. There you have it. I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking it out to the end here. Before we sign off, I'd like to give a shout out to the following people. Actually, before we even do that, I got to give major shout out to Coach Craig there to come off that little end skit there. Love you, baby. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to the following people who contributed the stories for today's podcast. From Stacks, you can find SportsBro19, Coach Craig Sports, Derek, that's with 2 R's and an ICK, Beard82, the GMM Network, Super Dave, The Drunken Monkey, LFG Friar Native, and Bo McBig Time. You are all fucking gems in my book. And friends of the Smoke Show. If you wouldn't mind, shoot us a follow on Twitter at @the_smoke_show. And you can follow me at SmokeyHellNFL on Twitter and on the Stacks app. My name is Josh Smokey Hell Nelson, and all I've got left to say is, where there's smoke, there's fire. Happy Super Bowl Eve! Woo!